Okay, well, hello everybody. We're here to just tell you some of our top tips for undertaking your own family and local history. I'm Jenny Moran, and with me is
Robin Jenkins. We're both archivists of many, many years. Our top tips are our own top tips, but also things that we've learnt from other people.
So here we go. So first of all, with your top tips, you should organise and write down what you already know in a way that's logical to you. So it doesn't really matter how you do this, just make sure that you understand it. And you'll probably find that you know more than you think, even family myths, and talk to relatives if you can, and see what they know. Again, it's often more than you might think. Do you agree with that, Robin?
I do very much so. I think, first of all, it exposes the gap. So if somebody says to you, well, what are you looking for? You have the gap to go to, and you can say, this is what I need to know. I don't know my grandmother's maiden name or something. But also, you will be surprised, as Jenny says, how much you do know and how much you can piece together when you start to actually to write it down, put it on a piece of paper. And also, I entirely agree about myths and things. Quite often, myths turn out to be nonsense, but also just as often they turn out to be based on some element of truth, and they make sense when you find out more.
Yes, yeah. A friend of mine said that his mother used to say that one of his great grandparents came with the gypsies, and when he looked into it, he did find out he had gypsy heritage.
Yes, I remember talking to someone who said that their grandfather or something was in the Leicestershire Regiment during the Great War, didn't know what battalion. And then we talked a little bit further on. It turned out that he remembered he used to talk about fighting the Turks, which means that he must have been in the 2nd Battalion. It was the only battalion that fought the Turks. So, a little bit of family story can sometimes be a clue to something much more significant.
So finally, work along methodically and see if the dates and information make sense. It's really easy to start chasing the wrong family, and you'll find as you delve into the past, you might even have family names that are familiar, but all the Williams and Thomases and Annes and Marys can all mean that it gets very confusing quite quickly. So
yes.
just
bear
that in mind.
It's a dreadful thing when you find that your family goes back to a village where 2 brothers had children and they named their children. They're all called William, Henry, and Thomas or something. Yes, it can be a terrible, the doom of family history, really, when you find you've got about 19 cousins all called the same things.
Sometimes it's not possible to sort it out. You just have to make your best guess, but don't get confused from the start.
You tried chasing Jenkinses in South Wales. Or rather, don't do that.
I think my colleague is saying don't.
Yes, I am. Don't do that. Don't even start.
Right, moving on. Well, this is your department, isn't it? Because you often play computer games, whereas I'm devoted to my vinyl record collection.
Yeah, well, I entirely agree with this. I always say, well, you can't break it. It is very difficult to break these things. So it's best to play around and experiment. It really is. You will learn a lot. You'll become handier with it. But you'll also find all sorts of things and ways around. And probably you'll find a better way than the expert for doing something. So yes, yeah, I subscribe to these very, very much. Yes.
I think our little point here about the free trials is quite important. That
Yes.
See if you can get free access through your local archive service or library. But just be wary because you put in your details, including your bank card, and then they start charging automatically after the free trial is over.
Yes. Well, it's like all things. It's like Amazon Prime. It's like all these things. It's very easy to sign up. It's not so easy to sign off. But keep your wits about you and don't agree to anything you don't agree to. And also, finally, I would say the last one there, I really do believe that very much. This is certainly my experience. You look again a month later, and you'll find that tons of materials gone on. These companies are putting things online all the time. It's their stock in trade, really, and they're just adding new material. Wouldn't you say, Jenny? I mean, it's always worth going back. Even a day later, sometimes it'll have changed. More things will be on.
Yeah, absolutely. They're constantly putting new stuff on. Right.
Yeah.
So as we've said, the record offices and some libraries certainly offer free advice on source material, as well as free access to the major family history resources. So you can't know it all when you start. You may become an expert, probably you will, but start off with your experts and see if they can help you.
Yes, this is where your notes come in, that you will find you have a gap, and the best thing to do is to go to someone and say, I'm looking for this specific thing. I have a gap. I have a puzzle. Can you help me solve this puzzle? You'll get a far better response, I think, than if you sort of throw a pile of disorganized papers at somebody and say, I don't know anything about this. I'm trying to trace my family tree. Where do I go? It's far better, far more productive, I think you'll find, if you say to them, I've got 2 marriages in the same village and I can't work out which one is my great grandfather. Can you help me? It's a specific thing and people will be able to focus on it.
Yeah, you'll have a more productive visit or conversation
Yeah.
if you try and do that. Also, your local family history society, even if you're not from that area. So if you join the Leicestershire and Rutland Family History Society, but most of your relatives are in Cornwall, it won't particularly matter. You can join one where most of your relatives are, of course, but they often have meetings. Hopefully they will again, but online meetings and people you can talk to. So it's a really nice society that it's a new, think of it as a new hobby, as a community. So you'll make new friends and you'll meet people who are doing what you're doing.
Yes, they're nice people, they're friendly people, and they will be interested. So, and they will also have valuable experience and tips, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They'll have done it. They might have even encountered the same problem that
Yes.
you're wrestling with. So do think about that.
Very good.
So finally, we'll wish you happy hunting for your relatives, and we've concentrated on family history, but you'll find that you branch out into local history because you'll want to know more.
There are no walls between them, are there, Jenny? Really, there are no walls. Family history becomes local history, becomes business history, becomes military history. It's all the same, really. The different areas, the different worlds collide and impact on each other and overlap. Yes, but it's fun. Enjoy it. Make the most of it.
So on that note, we'll say cheerio to you all and encourage you to look at our other work and our other presentations. And best wishes from us.
Goodbye.